Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, Health, Fitness, and Sport. And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love. We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be. So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together. Hey, everybody. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just did a swim.
Nice. You did it. Usually you swim afterwards.
I know. So, and it's supposed to be like 70 degrees today. So I was going to wait until this afternoon and go to the outdoor pool. But I do this all the time when I have time in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I'll just get stuff done around the house. And when it gets really nice, I'll go do my workout in the afternoon. And then by the afternoon, I'm tired. And then I don't want to work out. And then I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done it in the morning. So I just did it. I did a run this morning. It was my first run since the marathon. It was pretty slow, but I did it. And then I just swam with my friend Kat. We did some kicking without fins, which if you're listening to this and you're a triathlete, then you know how torturous that is. Kicking with no fins. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm a little cold. I'm in a loud area. I'm at Lifetime, and it's the workout room's right above me. So I'm in a, when I walk in, I have to find some space.
Right.
So it's just loud and it feels a little chilly, even though it is 70 degrees here. We had some cold weather. We got down below 30s.
Oh, wow. Already.
We got some low 20s. It's unusual for this time of year.
Yeah.
And so it cooled off the outdoor pool, which I got excited because I started cold plunging on Monday because it motivated me to say, oh, it's 25 degrees outside. The water is going to be cold, which it is. And I'm going to go jump in it. And so it was weird. I still hate being cold, but under my control and my choice, I'm okay with it. And so cold plunging is totally up to me, and my desire and how long I want to stay in is up to me. I can exit anytime and I just don't like being cold when I can't control it.
Right. I was going to start cold plunging this week. I actually plunged my foot because I tweaked my foot in jujitsu, and it's so much easier to just plunge a foot.
To me, it's so much easier just to jump right in and go.
Well, I was just sitting on the edge and I just had my one foot in, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. But I was going to start full cold plunging, but I psyched myself out. And I started off the day cold when I was over there, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like getting cold, but I want to do it because I signed up to do the Oceanside race.
Mm-hmm.
And that water is always freezing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, ooh, I'll start cold plunging now. So when I get into the Oceanside water, I'll be like, oh, it's just so toasty.
No, and it is true because about 6 months ago or so, Lifetime turned a hot tub into a cold plunge. They say it's 55 degrees. I think it's a little colder. It's probably between 50 and 55. So I've been doing that when the outdoor pool got warm. And now that the outdoor pool is cold, I can tolerate it much better than I could when I started this last year. So last year was really the first year in a few years that I restarted again. And it was 65 degrees in November. And that was really cold to me. And the first time I went in the cold plunge this year, it was 58.5. And the second day 2, was 54.4 because that cold Arctic air came in.
Right.
But I dove in and I'm like, I came up and it wasn't breathtaking. It was tolerable.
Right. All right. You talked me into it. Starting next time I'm at Lifetime, I'm cold plunging.
Yeah. Take a video. Prove it.
Ooh.
You don't take a video, it doesn't count.
Prove it. So what's your wellness win for the week?
Probably that I started cold plunging.
That's a good wellness win.
That's a good wellness win. I mean, it's still challenging to me. I still have to mentally psych myself up. An athlete I coach now, my friend Rachel, she's been asking me about it. So, I have that accountability partner now. I'm doing it when she sees me do it. It motivates her to do it. And so that makes me feel really good. And just being able to do it and feel good about it. And then, creating a video, and I like to create like some sort of inspirational message. Like yesterday, I talked about how the cliche, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Right. And so I'm trying to come up with little motivational hacks, quotes to talk about and then it keeps me in the water longer. And now that when I do it before I coach the kids, the sun starts to set behind this mountain in Lifetime.
Right. And you love your sunsets.
I love my
Right.
sunrises and sunsets. So that's definitely a wellness one.
All right. Well, then I'm starting this next week or just whenever I'm at Lifetime next. Every time I go to a Lifetime, which is at least twice a week because I coach twice a week, I'm going to cold plunge.
And that's what I say when I'm at Lifetime, I cold plunge because I'm not always here on the weekends. And so I'm not overcommitting myself to say I'm going to do it every day for the next 5 months. It's when I'm at Lifetime, I will cold plunge.
Okay. So you guys help us out, you guys. We want you to cold plunge with us. So make sure you let us know that you are starting your cold plunge, what it's like, your experiences. You can send us a video. You can just comment here and let us know about your cold plunging. Because like Wendy said, when we're all in it together, it's way, way easier.
Yeah, it is.
So, well, my wellness win is I went back to jujitsu after 3-month hiatus. And I almost didn't go. I've gone twice since last week. And both times I'm driving there, like heart palpitations, like butterflies in my stomach. Like I don't want to go. I was just so intimidates me. I freak myself out. And the first day I went back, there was a woman who is coming off. She just recovered from ACL surgery. So she has to kind of take it easy. And so we partnered up because I'm like, I just haven't been here. And she's really experienced. I think she's either a purple belt or a blue belt. I don't know, something like way, way, way better than me. But she just had to physically take it easy. And I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have to physically take it easy. I'm just so like clueless all the time there. So that was good. So it was a positive experience. And then Tuesday I went again and was partnered with this girl who she's a power lifter. So she's super, super strong, but she's brand new. So it was nice. Again, like she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we kind of didn't know what we were doing together. Both times back have been a positive experience. So I think I just sticking with it. It's like anything, you guys, when you do something, I say new, I've been doing it for a year, but it's kind of on and off depending on my schedule. And it's so intimidating to me. And I feel like I am not good at it. But I keep going back. I trust that it's like when I teach someone to swim. And Wendy, you can relate. So a brand new swimmer, we give them drills. And they're like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And I'm like, well, this is what eventually it's going to turn into. And they're like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. It feels awkward. And I'm like, just keep doing this drill and it's going to get easier. And then when you start putting them together, your body is going to have that muscle memory and you're going to know what to do. And so I just trust, since I tell people that, I'm like, okay, I trust this is the same process and I'm just going to stick with it.
Good. Yep, exactly. You should.
And on my 100th birthday, I'll get a black belt.
Sounds great.
So it is November, and a lot of people during November start thinking about Thanksgiving. And a lot of times when we think about Thanksgiving, we think about what are we thankful for? So I remember I started this almost 10 years ago, where every day in November, I was going to comment, post, share, write in my journal, whatever, something that I'm grateful for. And it's really helped me a lot. Gratitude has helped me a lot in shifting my mindset when things are bad. I'm starting to do that with my daughter, Cora. When she's having a rough day, I tell her she has to come up with 2 good things that happen for every 1 bad thing. So that we're like more gratitude or more positives than the negatives, kind of shifting the mindset. So we wanted to talk a little bit about gratitude today and how you can create a gratitude practice. What happens if you don't feel grateful about anything? What happens if you're going through a really tough time? How gratitude can turn that around. And just overall, this is a great time if you want to start a consistent gratitude practice to start, because it's November, Thanksgiving month. So Wendy, what are some opening thoughts you have on gratitude and how it plays a role in your life?
Well, you had mentioned, during some really tough times, sometimes you're not grateful for anything because you're so in the moment of the negativity or the issue that you're facing that you're like, just leave me alone. I can't I don't want to be grateful. I've had those moments where I'm just like, leave me alone. But then when I catch myself saying that, it makes me laugh. And I think it's good to do the things you don't want to do. So on those moments of despair that you're feeling, you're like, are you kidding me that you want me to be grateful for something? That's the reason you should do it. And so kind of planning on that to happen. I mean, plan for those moments where you are going to have moments where you're like, I'm not grateful for anything right now because of whatever's going on in your life. So plan on that and just kind of plan on having a backup plan for when that happens.
Right.
And so I think this day and age, due to social media, I see so much negativity, so many comments on social media about life going on right now. And it's just like, stop, stop.
Right.
And let's start sharing some love instead of hate. Because when you start sharing love instead of hate, you're going to start to feel better about the world around.
Right. And we talk about this all the time. We have complete control over our thoughts, whereas we don't have any control over what is going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, there's been so much research and books done about it, and inspirational speakers talk about it. But if you can, it's kind of like the serenity prayer, like pick out what you have control over, which is pretty much just our own actions, reactions, thoughts, everything. And so we can choose, no matter what's going on around us, how we want to respond and show up in the world. And I feel like gratitude is a really positive way to show up, even when everything is crashing down around you.
Right. So, I always use my example of when I broke my patella because that was more of an accident more than an injury. And who would have known? Who would have thought, an endurance athlete would ever break their patella and have it split the way it split. And so it kind of stumped me at first. And I had very few moments where I was just frustrated because it was a beautiful day and all I wanted to do was go for a run and I was on crutches and I couldn't do anything. But having that, again, that mindset, and I'm really good with mindset shifts and reframing of this is temporary and what are the positive things that are coming out of this. And there were a lot of positive things that came out of breaking my patella. And so having these negative experiences, but coming out of them positively makes you appreciate what happened to you and all the things in between the day my patella broke and the outcome of 2.5 years later and how I'm crushing it on the trails. And I've gotten closer to my family and my whole perspective about sport and fitness and recovery and life has changed. So a lot of things, have come out of it. And sometimes you don't know, you don't have the gratitude until you're kind of coming out of the setback that you had. So it's something that I think is a learned behavior is having that gratitude. But when you are in those, we talk a lot about stress and anxiety moments. When you do have that perspective that you can realize the stress and anxiety that's going on in your life and take a step back and reframe it and start to think about something positive or something that you're grateful for. Maybe you're not grateful for it in the moment, but in the past you were grateful for it.
Right.
Go back to that past experience of that gratitude that you have had and let it kind of creep into your life now.
Well, and that's a good point too. So if you think back of the times where things were rough or bad, or you were sad or mad or frustrated, or things were just going, your life was really hard or a setback or anything like that. And then even if it took a couple years and things were okay, that can reinforce your belief that shifting your mindset works. Exactly. So then when it happens again, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this happened in my life and it turned out okay. This happened in my life and it turned out okay. This happened in my life, it turned out okay. So whatever's going on in my life right now, it's going to be okay.
Right. So one of the podcasts, either last week's or the week before, we talked about how athletes a lot of times get into the, I have to train today. I have to wake up at 6 a.m. I have to do this. I have to do that. When I hear athletes saying that, I think they have no gratitude on what they get to do. They have no gratitude in understanding they have the body and the mind and the physical and mental capacity to get to do the training that they're about to do. They don't have to do anything. I tell my athletes all the time,
Right.
if you don't want to do it, don't do it. You don't have to. Training is optional. I say that to the youth team I coach. I say that to the adults I coached. Training is always optional. That I never want to hear I have to do something,
Right.
because you get to do it or you don't get to do it. It's your choice.
Right.
And and that ties into gratitude, because the have to makes me hear that they don't have the gratitude of what they're about to get to do.
And also, even if you, quote, have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get your workout in, you still have the time at 4 a.m. Like, that's something else to be grateful for, that you have time to train, regardless of what time it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. I say that to my kids I coach sometimes, or they're like, oh, I don't want to be here. I'm like, okay, then go. And they're like,
All the time.
what? Yeah.
I tell them they don't have to be there. They can just walk away right now.
They're so confused, right? They look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, go home. And they're like, I can't. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. And then all of a sudden
Say
they're
that
like,
all the time.
yeah. And then of course they stay, right? Because they really want to be there. They just want something to complain about.
Mm-hmm. I have one swimmer in particular. It's been a hard week because we have no meets this weekend. So it's a little bit more challenging week. And she looks on the board and sees the workout and gives the sides, gives the complaints, it gives the excuses. And then in the end, like for example, we did 3100s on the 130 yesterday, and she was just like, oh, but in the end, she had missed some because she went to the bathroom or her goggles issue, so she missed some, and I had to go right at 6:00. And in the end, she stayed and made up for the
To
ones
finish. I love that.
Because the challenge that was presented to her wasn't as challenging as she thought. So why not stay?
Right.
And then it's for me today to explain the lesson of how all these workouts that we've had have tied in together. And this is what they all mean. And this is the outcome of all of it.
Right. And I love how when the workout, they'll, like, if you're doing a long set at the beginning, they're fine. And then when they start falling behind, all of a sudden their goggles are leaking. They have to go to the bathroom. Their cap is I'm like, go. And they're like, oh, but my goggles leaking. I'm like, it didn't leak for 3 minutes. Why are they all of a sudden leaking? This sounds
They weren't
fishy.
leaking yesterday.
I know, right? So can you think of any simple ways that people can start a gratitude practice?
Well, this is something that you do that I don't journal, but having a gratitude journal and writing things down, I think is like really easy to start. That's an easy way to start, is get, whether you do it like on your phone notes or get an actual spiral notebook or something. And like something that I would do is every evening, or maybe you do it first thing in the morning, is you wake up and you immediately, have your coffee, whatever, and just start writing things that you were grateful for, maybe from the day before, or maybe on the day leading forward. What are you grateful for going into your day to day? Or do it in the evening, reflect on the previous day in the evening and say, what are all the things I was just grateful for? I think that's really, really, really going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to give one more for an athlete who keeps a training log, and that's a non-negotiable as a coach. They have to keep a training log with subjective details, is really going into that post-workout notification, because we all have days that training just sucks. We're all having days that we're just not our best, physically, mentally, whatever. And in posting those post-workout reflections in your training log will make you realize, again, you start writing things out and you're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I felt. Now that I'm thinking about it in more detail, now that it's done, it wasn't that bad. So that's something they can reflect on for future training sessions. What did they learn, and move that, go with that learning experience into future sessions.
Yeah. And along with that, we've talked about this so on so many different episodes, but 9 out of 10 times, if you don't really want to do something that day and you do it anyway, 9 out of 10 times, you're very glad you did it. You feel better. And it could end up being the highlight of your day. So to remember those things, so to note those in your training log, again, it reinforces that, okay, the water's freezing. I don't really feel like getting in and swimming. I'm really exhausted. But 99% of the time, when I get in the water, I'm so grateful I did. So it's a reminder to just get in and do it.
Just get in and do it, even if you have to modify things. Modify your effort level, your pace, your power, whatever you're using to monitor intensity. it's still better to do something rather than nothing. Consistency is always key as an athlete, and it's okay to modify things. Like I know athletes who get so down on themselves because they have to adjust a certain pace or effort level, and it's like, so what? Like this is the present moment. This is where you're at now. That doesn't mean anything about your race that happens in 3 months. That don't just because you have to slow down today doesn't mean your race is going to be slow, because it's all accumulation of mental and physical preparation that's going to lead to the performance you're going to have race day.
So I have two simple ways to get started on a gratitude practice. Number one, we kind of talked about it with the ice cold plunging. Just find a partner, find a friend, make a challenge yourself for a gratitude streak, and just say, okay, every day I'm going to write down one thing I'm grateful for. So make it realistic. Like when we do a move your body challenge, we don't say, just because Wendy and I work out a minimum hour a day, we're not going to be like, okay, everyone, let's every single day a workout streak 1 hour, because most people have no desire to work out for an hour or won't. So pick something that's realistic for you. One thing to be grateful for a day, and just start there and start a streak or a challenge with your friend. Or I know a ton of people have like Facebook groups or little social media clans, or even like a mom's group you might do stroller aerobics with, or, a little group of people that you meet with, or even just a friend, and text and say, hey, I want to start a gratitude practice. Do you want to be my accountability partner? Every day, let's just send each other one thing we're grateful for.
I like that. I like having the accountability partner that you're sharing your gratitude with.
Yes. So that's one simple way. The other thing that I thought of, and I actually had to look it up when we were first talking because I couldn't remember the name of the book. But my friend Kim introduced me to this book, and it's called The Magic. And she kept saying, like, I want to do this, like, kind of accountable, like a book club. It's a book. And she's like, I want to do a book club with The Magic. And I'm like, I don't know, that sounds weird. And I didn't really read what it was about. And so I kind of was like putting it off. And this was a few years ago. And then finally I'm like, okay, whatever it is, I'm in, because I really like her. And she was starting it. I think she was starting like a life coaching type business. So she was just kind of like getting groups of people together. So this book, it's called The Magic, and it's all about gratitude. It's like, I haven't read it in a while, so don't quote me on this, but it's something like 21 days. So let's say it's 21 days, and every chapter is a day that talks about gratitude, and it gives you kind of a category. So for example, one of the chapters talks about when you go into your kitchen and make your breakfast. Not only are you grateful for the banana, but for me to get that banana in my hand, that took like somebody had to grow the banana. Somebody had to pick the banana. Somebody had to sell the banana or whatever to the grocery store. Someone had to deliver it. There's a lot of people and other things like the sun and the soil and the tree that grew the banana. You could go down a 10-minute gratitude on your banana. And so I think that, and I'm guilty of this, but I think a lot of us, because when I think about my gratitude for the day, because I do a daily gratitude, I've done a streak, I do one big one. I also have some other things I do, but that's the main thing, is one a day. I always try to think of like this big, grandiose, like I'm grateful for, I'm trying to make it like big and exciting. But this book made me think about other things, like I'm grateful I have blue eyes. Like that's not something I would have normally said, because I have blue eyes and I was born with them and I'm going to die with them. And so it's no big deal, but I like blue eyes. So why not be grateful for my blue eyes or blonde hair or whatever, something like. And so each chapter talks about, I thought about this after I read a chapter from that book. It was in the winter and I was driving and there was a guy doing snow blowing on the sidewalk. And I'm like, it was right in front of the school. So kids can walk on a safe sidewalk. There's this guy, he's getting up at AM to snowblow. He's probably getting paid by someone. So grateful that he gets to get paid to do that. maybe our tax money is going toward it. So, grateful for taxes because it's keeping kids safe. It's just, you can go back and back and back and find these little things that I feel like I do, and I'm sure other people do, we take for granted. Like Wendy was talking about, we get all the things we get to do. Until you don't get to do those things anymore, you take them for granted. I have never thought about until I read this book, like that I'm grateful for my vision. But if I suddenly got blind, if I went fully blind suddenly, I would be like, oh my gosh, I should have been grateful for my vision when I had it.
Right.
And a lot of times we're not grateful for those things until they're gone. Our health, our well-being, our wellness, mental, physical, emotional capacities. I'm grateful I'm grateful that I cry a lot because that makes me an empathetic, emotional person. And that to me is a good characteristic, not a weak, poor characteristic. So I think just, and if it takes like this book where you could, call up your friends and be like, let's do this for book club or something like that. It just kind of shares and helps you open your mind a little bit about how much there truly is to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend the book. It's called The Magic. There's an audiobook, and then you do like daily practices, and it's a little intense. Like they say first thing when you wake up, you write down 10 things you're grateful for and why. Like, not just like, I'm grateful for this podcast, but like, I'm grateful for this podcast because once a week I get to see Wendy, we get to chit chat, we get to catch up. People share that they've been affected by our podcast in a positive way. Like all the why, not just what you're grateful for, but why.
I like that too.
It's so awesome, but it was so time consuming that I just wouldn't do it. Because if I couldn't get 10 in, I'm like, what's the point? So I'm here to say, do the book, read the book. And if you can only do one a day, awesome. No pressure.
I'll have to, I'm going to check out the book when we're done.
Yeah, it's really neat. And we kind of did it as a group, and then we would share it. It was just in a Facebook group. It wasn't like live or on the phone or a Zoom call or anything. And we would share what we got out of each chapter. And it was really valuable and it was really neat. And I actually had her do it, I think 1 or 2 more times, because I'm like, I need someone to lead this or I'm not going to do it, which I could just do it on my own. And if you guys have Spotify, if you pay for Spotify, there are so many audiobooks that you get for free for paying for your monthly Spotify subscription. And so I pay for it for my teaching fitness classes. That's what I use as Spotify. So all like that book's free on Spotify, along with pretty much every audiobook on the planet. So plug for Spotify. I don't get any kickback. So anything else you can think of as far as how people can bring more gratitude into their lives?
Well, I just thought of something. Kill them with kindness. So if you're frustrated with a spouse or a coworker or a friend, family, whatever, instead of like raging and showing your frustration, turn that around and try to kill them with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I've done this with like coworkers where we're just like, maybe like a boss, you just want to like, but because you just both had an issue together or a spouse, even with your spouse, you're just like, the next time you see them, you just want to be like, Rrr. Instead of doing that, thank them for something. Just show your appreciation for them. Whether you're feeling that in the moment, let the frustration go and try to just be more grateful that you do have this relationship and that frustration is going to be temporary and that you do still have this relationship and you do still have your job, even though you just had a spat with your boss, and you are still married to your spouse, even though you both said, let's get a divorce right now, or whatever the case may be. Just try to get all this love and kindness within you and express it to the person that you're most frustrated with. It really changes things.
Yeah, I 1,000,000,000% agree. I do that all the time. And there's a chapter in that book that I was talking about where you like take a picture, not take a picture, take a photo, but like find a photo or a picture of somebody who has that you have a strained relationship with. And it has a little like ritual that you do around kind of what you just said and turn it into gratitude. Mm-hmm. And I've done that with so many of my relationships. My daughter's dad and when we ended our relationship, it was a little bit strained and strenuous and hard. And we were trying to co-parent a baby. She was 1. And I would always, I would think it, but I would also say it like on Father's Day. I would text them and say, Happy Father's Day. I'm really grateful for you because we have this amazing child together. So, and I think, and at first, I don't know, you got to, like Wendy said, you got to just like keep at it. And I think it chips away at people who are trying to hold a grudge and they can't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Exactly.
And that actually happened. So last week I was coaching, and at Lifetime, there's lanes. And when you're about to use a lane for coaching or whatever, there's a green cone on top. And you move the green cone under and the red cone on top. And that way
that system.
Yes. And so that way when people walk in, they know this lane is about to be taken or this lane is reserved. So if you look at the like learn to swim pool, the big long warm pool, it's like all green most of the time. But if the swim lesson is coming in, they switch the cone on top of each other. And I went to go coach last week and there was a guy in the lane that we use. There was still like 5 minutes until we started. And so I went and I switched all the cones. And he actually wasn't swimming. He was water running, which if there's a sign that says, if you're going to water run, do it in the other pool, not the lap pool. But that's besides the point. So he came back and he goes, are you kicking me out? And I thought he was joking and being like funny. And I was like, yeah, we have masters swimming unless you want to join us. And he goes, so that's how you're doing it? You switch the cone? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's effed up.
Really?
And he said it like really rude. He's like, that's fucked up. And I go, why? Because I'm switching a cone. I go, that's our system we use. And he was like, a little passive aggressive, isn't it? And I'm like, actually, I feel like switching the cone was the very most gentle way I could ever tell somebody we're about to use this lane. Like I didn't throw a kickboard at him and hit him on the head and be like, dude, get out of the lane. We're about to use it.
Yeah.
So I was like taken aback, but we had actually only had 2 people show up that morning. Like the week before there was like 8. So I'm like, you need this lane, but we only had 2 people show up. So at like 5:35, when there was only 2 people, he was jogging back. And I was like, look, it worked out perfectly. We only have 2 people. And I was just being super nice. And I was like, thank you, just like you said, killing him with kindness. And even though he was very brash and abrupt to me, because I could have been like, dude, you shouldn't even be in this pool. This is the lap pool. Go jog in the warm pool. You know what I mean? But I was just overly, and then I was kind of chit chatty with them. And when he got out, I was like, have a great day. And
so this happened to me, and I can't even tell you any details. It was a member of Lifetime, and it had to do with the swim team practice. And whatever the situation was, he raged at me, raging, the most rudest member. And I remained calm, and I was positive and blah, 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 blah. And then when I saw him the next day, he apologized.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was probably the most gratitude thing that I was so happy that he recognized that he was wrong, whether there was a right or wrong, but he recognized the inappropriateness of his actions towards me, and he apologized. And that just made my day. Like I had the best day just because of that one happy moment of this raging member apologizing.
And you guys, you never know what people are going through. And so if somebody reacts to you a way that you're like, wow, they had like, that reaction was super uncalled for in this situation. They might just got the news that their best friend died, or that they have cancer, or it could be so many things going on. So that's another reason to kill them with kindness, because you never know what other people are going through and what other people are fighting, their inner demons, their whatever's going on in their life. And a simple, kind, loving gesture towards somebody could completely change their outlook on life in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So, yay, I love that. Any other final gratitude things?
No, I would just love for our listeners to share with us how they practice gratitude and things that they're grateful for, especially with the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. Just nice to hear from them.
Yeah, comment here what you're grateful for. I would love one thing. Everyone comment one thing they're grateful for right now. We do have a few listener questions today. So I have a question and then an observation that I wanted to share. So
Okay.
do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So my observation, I just wanted to share because it's partially why Wendy and I always say, if you have goals, if you have somewhere you want to go, if you want to, compete at a high level or even like PR in any sport, why you should get a coach or join a master's team or something like that. So I have a woman I coach and she does all her training on her own. And I've been giving her swim workouts, even with intervals, like all year. And I started coaching masters. So I told her she needs to come to my masters in the morning. So she came this morning and I feel like I gave her pretty much the same workout as I would have given her like to do on her own. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I have not worked this hard in months." And she was like, "This is a great reminder that I need to come to masters or work out with a friend or whatever." And so I was talking to there's a girl that she's a professional triathlete. She swims at the same time as I coach. And I've known her for a few years and I chit chat with her. And we were talking about that because she's been mostly training on her own. This is her first year as a pro, but she just joined a Boulder group, got a new coach and there's like a handful of really great professional triathletes in Boulder, and they're going to be doing workouts together. And she was talking about how excited she is because you can follow your coach's plan and you think your effort is higher or you think you're going fast enough or you're hitting the numbers, but you're really not training as hard as you think a lot of the times until you get around other people or like do a little race or a local 5K or swim with a master's group. And then all of a sudden you're like, I was resting 4 times as long as we do when I do it on my own on these same intervals or, just taking breaks in between or doing whatever. But it's just kind of a reminder that sometimes joining a group run, a group ride, a master swim can help you push yourself a little bit if you are trying to get faster or stronger in your sport. So that was just a share that happened this morning that I was like,
Yeah.
it's the same workout that I give you on your own. But she was like, I know, but I guess I just rest more in between each set
Yeah.
or whatever. So I
That's
thought that was,
interesting. Good
it
coach,
was,
good coach observation.
I know.
So my question what had to do with an athlete that said she was on the treadmill and her treadmill said that she expended 2,400 calories during her run, but
Oh, that would be awesome. That's like a marathon.
her watch only said 1,500 calories, and so she was really confused. So I just wanted to, make some points about when you're monitoring caloric expenditure. The primary determinant is your intensity level measured by heart rate. And so I've gone through a 30-minute aqua jog where my heart rate is 80 to 90 beats and my monitor is measuring 150 to 160. It's not accurate. So it tells me I expended 300 calories because it thought my effort was 150 to 160 beats per minute when my effort was only like 80 to 90 beats per minute. So I knew I only expended probably 100 calories because my heart rate was not as high as what my watch was measuring. And so when you work out on various equipment at the gym, every piece of equipment is calibrated differently. And if you're not inputting your current body weight, size, and if it's not monitoring your heart rate, if it's not monitoring your intensity level, it's going to give you a faulty number such as caloric expenditure. And so it's really important. Like an accurate way is going to be your heart rate monitor measured maybe on your chest, because my wrist monitor is not really accurate all the time. But if it is, and if you work out for 60 minutes and your heart rate's 120 beats, I'm probably going to expend 400 calories compared to working out at 60 minutes at 160 beats. I'll probably expend 600 calories. So it has to do with your heart rate because your heart rate is measuring your intensity if it's accurate. So you kind of want to be aware of all those numbers, especially if you're monitoring your caloric expenditure. I wouldn't rely on machines because every machine is going to be a little bit different. I would rely on your heart rate monitor, but the way you rely on your heart rate monitor to make sure it's accurate is to take your pulse.
Yeah. And along with that, if you get on a piece of equipment, and like Wendy said, if it doesn't have you enter your height, your weight, your body mass index, your body fat, your gender, like these are all things that affect your calorie output. Like if I was 300 pounds and I walked a mile, I would be putting out a lot more calories than if I'm 100 pounds walking a mile.
Exactly.
And so the machine just has you walking a mile. It doesn't know anything else. So it's going to give you an average calorie expenditure. Whereas the more specific you are, so if you do have a device that is more specifically geared toward you and it's an accurate count of your heart rate and it already knows your like lean muscle mass, your age, your weight, your height, your gender, if it's already calibrated to that, it's going to be a lot more accurate. And that's the same with I have a whole video on how to set up my Fitness Pal because I have worked with a lot of athletes and clients in the past that they're like, oh, this is how much calorie, my base metabolic rate. And I'm like, how did you get that number? And we go back and look how they entered all their information into my Fitness Pal, and it's not necessarily accurate. And so then their calorie base metabolic rate isn't going to be accurate.
Right. So speaking of that, my husband Don just got his RMR, his resting metabolic rate tested in a lab setting. So at rest, without any energy expenditure through the day, if he just laid in bed all day, he knows how many calories his body needs to maintain the function of his organs and everything else. So that's an important number to get accurate if you're on any type of weight loss, weight gain program, is to know your resting metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate is very helpful. So you know how many calories you need just to sustain.
Yeah. And I know on my Fitness Pal, they'll ask you like, describe your lifestyle. And it'll be like very active, moderate, lightly active, non-active. And what I've seen go wrong is that athletes, because they do so much activity, they always put very active. And that's what helps determine your base metabolic rate. But they're still entering all their workouts. And let's say you sit at a desk all day long, but then you work out 10 hours a week. You're still considered active, but they want to know like without your workouts, like if you're in like Wendy and I, our job is active. Like when I coach on Wednesday nights, I get like 15,000 steps just from coaching because I coach 4.5 hours and I'm walking back and forth.
Right. I have an active job. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah. And so most people, they don't have active jobs. Most athletes, they don't have active jobs, but they have active lifestyles. And so if you put in, I have an active lifestyle, and then you're putting in your 10 hours of workouts a week, it's probably going to over guess your base metabolic rate. So then you're like, why aren't I losing any weight? It says I can eat 4,000 calories.
Right.
So that's something to look at. I've worked with people and we've kind of adjusted that. So my question was, it was actually from someone who listened to our podcast. She's like, I listened to your podcast and she listens to a bunch of podcasts. But she was like, I've been listening to a few podcasts that talked about zone heart rates. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, so your heart rate zone. And she was like, and I'm really confused at all the different things I've been reading and listening to about what zone I should be in when I exercise. So the first thing, and so I thought this would be great to bring up. We've kind of touched on it before, but not as specific. But for me, the first thing I told her, it depends on what your goal is. Because if you're an elite athlete trying to go faster at a 10K, where you want to be training overall, how much zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is going to be different than someone whose goal is longevity, or someone whose goal is weight loss, or someone whose goal is endurance. So I think that that's the most important thing, is you need to know why you're looking at your heart rate zones and what your goal is to determine what percentage of the heart rate zones are best for you.
Yes, exactly. Keep it really simple. And if you are someone, whether you're a recreational or competitive athlete, it's important to know. Usually, most people use a 5-zone scale: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, and zone 5, to know what your heart rate should be in various zones by doing a laboratory setting test or a non-laboratory test. So there's various ways to determine what's called your threshold or zone 4 heart rate. And then based on that number, then you can take percentages and calculate zone 1, 2, 3, and zone 5 or more. So you don't want to generally go by a formula. Sometimes the formula fit perfectly. Most of the time they don't.
Basically, the formula is 220 minus your age is your max heart rate.
Right.
And that's, I mean, maybe that works for a very like average or a sedentary person, but I get my heart rate that means mine would be like 167 would be my max.
Right.
And I regularly, especially if I'm doing intervals or a HIIT workout or racing, I'm in the 180s.
Right. And it really has to do with your starting fitness level. When I had 6 weeks off, I would go on the step mill on level 1, and my heart rate, taken by my pulse and my monitor, was reading 150 beats, and I wasn't exerting myself. It's just due to my fitness, my cardiovascular fitness level after having 6 weeks off on the couch was ground zero again. And so I haven't trained my heart rate in a long time because I trail run, and I'm more or less, I like to train by effort, but I start training with heart rate again to see now, like I can't even barely get my heart rate at max effort on a step mill up to 150 beats because I'm so aerobically fit right now.
Right.
And so training by zones and monitoring your effort by rate of perceived effort are really important. But like Kirsten said, it just depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
And your current starting fitness level.
And for longevity, and tell me if you agree with this, just from the things that I've read and heard and listened to, you primarily want to be in zone 2 and 3 with some bursts every week up to zone 4 and 5 would be the ideal prescription for longevity. Not if you're training for a specific sport or to lose weight, but just for longevity, primarily zones 2 and 3, but you need to get your heart rate up every once in a while into those really high training zones.
Right. I'd say I would say zone 1 and 2 for longevity, with once a week zone above zone 4, zone 5. You want those high intensity efforts at least once a week for longevity. You know, Dr. Peter Attia speaks a lot about this on his podcast. Longevity and VO2 max is a determinant of your longevity. And so he goes into in-depth detail that you can understand on his podcasts about heart rate stuff.
Yeah. And she was listening to him. That was one of the ones that she had listened to when she was like, she listened to him, then she listened to, I think, like Sims, and then us. She listened to like 4 all in a row with different heart rate. And she was like, I'm so confused. So
understandably.
Understandably. And that's why I wanted to bring it on here. And just, if I didn't I trained for heart rate a long time ago, and then I didn't for like 15 years. And just this year, like a few months ago when I got my Whoop, I started looking at my heart rate again. And it's so great because it's helping me understand why I can't race as fast as I want to, because I don't train at that intensity. And sometimes, like, if I'm really tired, I'm like, oh, I had a really hard run today, but it was because I was tired and fatigued. My heart, and then it would be like, you spent 33 minutes in zone 0. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I just like ran 6 miles at, like, I would have guessed like a moderate effort.
Right.
And it's like, primarily zone 0 and you kind of jumped into zone 1. And I'm like, really? So then I thought it was wrong. Like you were saying, yours was different. I'm like, this must be wrong. But when I race, I'm in zone 4 the entire time and then bump up into zone 5. So then I know, okay, I just don't push when I train like I do when I race. So, all right, any other heart rate zones?
No, we could go a whole podcast on heart rate training.
I know. Maybe we will in a couple weeks. What are you most excited about this upcoming week?
2 things. I'm doing a 30K trail race.
Ooh, yay.
Coming up, and I'm doing a 10K on Thanksgiving Day. So I'm looking forward to both those races, and just Thanksgiving Day, my family's coming over to our house. We started a new tradition at our house last year. So
are you going to have, are any renovations going to be ready?
No, it doesn't matter.
It'll still be fun.
We have furniture.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And you'll have family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about my weekend because I don't have my daughter and I just want some time to chill. We've been really busy. We've been like roller skating and swimming, and we've been doing a bunch of fun, great, amazing activities together. But I'm ready for a chill weekend. So
Good.
I'm ready to do nothing.
Good.
All right, you guys, let us know if you have any other questions that you want us to talk about. We did get a comment last week. Somebody said, thank you for answering my question.
Oh, good.
In our listener questions. So you guys, let us know your questions. We do answer them. And we always want to know what you guys want to hear about. So awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Make it a great day.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes. We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review. And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day.